welcome back to another episode 401 of the Purple Rain podcast, the Randall Cunningham episode, and hopefully the last ever only Randall Cunningham episode. If you know what that means, if you know, you know, so I'm going to say. Yes, welcome back to the post-draft episode of the Purple Rain podcast. A whole lot to talk about, a whole lot of just fresh content, no regurgitation on this episode. But first off, you can follow us here on Instagram at the Purple Rain podcast. This guy here on Instagram or on X at Sutton Def. Me, Instagram simply as10.prod, X simply as10. And like the video if you haven't already. And if you want to talk in that chat over there, you see, I think to your right, I want to say, subscribe and, sound off, let us know how you're feeling. You can give the draft a grade, who your favorite draft player is, what you didn't like, because we'll definitely be talking about that. And, overall surprises around the whole draft in the NFL. So much to talk about, but draft is over, Sutton. How are you feeling? I know you kind of let me know how you're feeling about it, but just tell everybody, how are you feeling? Draft's over. No more deep dives on guys from these colleges, from Southeastern Louisiana, from Stephen F. Austin, from UCF, from North Dakota State. It's over.
Yeah, Alex, I'm feeling good. I can't say I'm feeling great, but I'm feeling good. I'll start with that. To your point, again, draft season for us is always kind of like a mixed bag of emotions, right? It's kind of like a love-hate relationship we have with it. Of course, we're so excited to see who the new era of the Ravens, what that's going to look like with these young players. But at the same time, it's like, man, you're really looking for like some needles in several haystacks. You know what I mean? So it's just like it gets tough. And again, I do want to say this now that the draft is in the books now and behind us. Big shout out to all of the Ravens content creators who had draft centric content throughout the pre-draft process. And then, of course, as the draft was going on, they were covering it for all 3 days. Big shout out to them. Of course, big shout out to our guy Jason from Huddle It Up Films. We were on his channel on Thursday night for round 1 of the NFL draft. And then I was on my guy Coach's channel, who I actually see in the chat right now. Shout out to my guy Coach at Super Tally Films, again, friend of the show here at PRP. I was on his channel on Friday night doing rounds 2 and 3 of the draft, and we had a lot of fun, man. We had a lot of fun. Thursday and Friday, we had a boatload of fun, man, as it always is during the draft. I go into it all the time, Alex, thinking like, man, this is going to be a long-ass stream. I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm going to get hungry, but like by the time it's over with, I'm like, dang, like that actually went by. That wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It wasn't bad. And that's how I felt this year, just like every other year. So I'm feeling good, Alex. I'm ready to break down some of these selections that the Ravens made because, listen, man, I'm going to just tell you like this. Like, some of these selections I really, really liked. Some of these selections are super head scratchers for me. And we're going to get into that here and more on this episode. But before we do, please be sure to leave a thumbs up. Yes, sir. A like on this video. It is free. And it helps out the channel so much here at the Purple Rain podcast. We appreciate each and every one of you guys for taking the time to not only watch this video, but support by leaving a like and then also subscribe. If you are new here to the Purple Rain podcast, we do come out with daily Baltimore Ravens content. We will be covering this team again 365 days a year. So if you do want more Ravens coverage as the offseason kind of chugs along here, we are here for you here at the Purple Rain podcast. Join the Rain Gang family. Hit that subscribe button. If you're really feeling froggy, join our channel membership where you get all sorts of benefits as well. You get to call into the show from time to time, and you also automatically qualify for our giveaways. Speaking of giveaways, Alex, you know what I was thinking before we went live here?
What's up?
We're coming up on a very slept on milestone episode of the show.
Okay.
It's coming up very, very soon. And it's episode 410, right? It's episode 410. It's right around the corner here, Alex. And you know what I was thinking? Why not do another giveaway? Episode 410. 410, it's a staple in Baltimore, that area code, man. I mean, I think it's worthy of it. It's worthy of a giveaway. So 410, we'll have to talk about that after the show, man. But again, if you want to qualify for our giveaways, all you got to do, join our channel membership here at PRP. We'd appreciate that. Again, shout out to everybody who's here in the live chat. If you're watching live right now, shout out to you. If you're not watching live and you're part of the hashtag replay gang, shout out to you as well. Big ups to you. And then also, much love to everybody listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. We are available on those platforms as well. And like we said, we're going to go ahead and do a deep dive here into every single draft pick that the Ravens made, all of the selections. But before we do that, there was an article that came out today, Alex, from The Athletic, right? and I believe it was from Mike Silver. And he was interviewing, I guess, Eric Decosta, Ravens general manager, after the draft, kind of like, I guess you can say Eric Decosta was giving an AAR, an after action report on the draft and like what he felt and how things kind of fell and how things worked out, right? So you told me you were pissed off about this before we went live here. I want to know exactly why you were pissed off. Like, what part of this article made you feel that way, Alex?
So first off, they kind of said, well, they didn't kind of say this. EDC said that we had a trade in place to trade back and acquire more fourth round picks. So think about that, to trade back. And another article came out regarding the whole Ty Simpson pick by the Rams, that teams were trading or trying to trade up with the Rams to pick 13 to take our first round pick. Yeah, just think about that. So we wouldn't have had Mr. Vega if the Rams were to trade that 13 pick. And we wouldn't have had him if we were to trade back, I believe, that 14 pick. And it's for extra fourth round picks. And here's where my issue comes in, because Jesse Minter said, we know who we're picking, because they were, thinking about possibly, I think, Sadiq as well. I think maybe Bain. I just am very upset that EDC would trade back for some fourth round picks. For some fourth round picks for guys that probably would play for 1 or 2 years here and then not be impact players. And that just is very frustrating. I don't think he really knew who he wanted to take in pick 14. Thankfully, Minter kind of stepped in and said, hey, you're going to take this guy. And that's really telling that Minter said that over Ruben Bain, who was there. Just think about that. Like, defensive head coach, said, I want the offensive guy instead of this star edge rusher. I think it was being mocked as, as a top 5 pick not too long ago. Falls in our hands at 14, and we don't go with him. That just really frustrated the EDC. I would have never traded that 14 pick unless you blow me away. But for some fourth round picks, absolutely not. No, would not do that. So that is kind of a big reason why I'm upset right now. I'm just happy it didn't go through. I'm thankful, but why would you even entertain that trade? That's kind of what I'm a little bit confused about.
Yeah, and what I love about it the most is, like you mentioned, Jesse Minter. He didn't have to do that as a defensive-minded head coach. He could have been like, "Oh yeah, give me Ruben Bain." Are we joking right now? Give me Ruben Bain with Trey Hendrickson and Mike Green and all those boys for sure. He could have done that. However, what I like the most about Jesse Minter so far, and maybe this is me just still being in the honeymoon phase when it comes to Jesse Minter. However, what I love about that little tidbit of information, Alex, the most, the fact that he preferred Vega over Bain, is that his actions are matching his words. I don't know if you remember, but about a month ago, there was a video released by the Ravens media where Jesse Minter was talking about what his number one priorities are, right? And for this team. And he said the number one priority, he was very adamant about it, Alex. He said, I need to make sure that we are protecting Lamar Jackson. He is the number one priority. It wasn't, oh, we need to create more turnovers on defense. We need to do, nothing like that. No, we need to protect the crown jewel in number 8. And that's exactly what he did. But the fact, again, that you mentioned, or that was mentioned in the article, that EDC was really, really thinking, really contemplating trading back, right? Risking losing Vega over just picking him right there. It shows that EDC was doing what we feared he would do, and he was overthinking it, right? If Vega was there, that was the only pick. That's the only pick. And it's for reasons that I've stated multiple times on this very show. Vega is not just a pick that benefits the offensive line. Hell, the offensive line benefits the skill players too. It benefits the quarterback. It benefits the running backs. It benefits the pass catchers, the wide receivers, tight ends, everyone. Right? He's an engine starter, quite literally an engine starter for the offense. So it made no sense to me to go any other direction other than Vega Ioane. And I can just imagine Jesse Minter sitting in the war room with his arms folded at 14. And he's like, oh, Venga's still there. We're going to get him, right? We're going to get Vega, right? And EDC's like, man, I don't know. I was really liking Kenyon Sadiq. There's a lot of guys on the board right now. We might trade back a couple of picks. When you're what? Future 8 to 10 year guard of the future is right there. Is right there. Are you kidding me? Jesse Minter's like, oh, no. I'm the new sheriff in town here, right? If you want my professional opinion as your first year head coach, Eric, get this guy. And that's coming from a defensive-minded head coach. Get this guy for the offense. Get this guy to support Lamar Jackson. Get this guy to support the plans of 29-year-old offensive coordinator, first-time play caller, by the way, Declan Doyle. So again, and I saw Chris say in the chat, like, we don't want to, cry over things that didn't happen, or she said something to that effect, which I agree. I understand it didn't
Yes.
happen, but the fact that Eric Decosta even thought about it,
They
you
had
know
a
what I
trade
mean?
in place. It was going to
Yeah.
happen. The team pulled out. And then I saw, like, I think it was Sleeper NFL, one of those, clickbait accounts, surprise, surprises, like, haha, Ravens, how do you feel, when a team pulls out? I think we're all happy. With
Yeah.
all due respect, I'm happy they pulled out because I wouldn't want any other player, I think, where we were at than Mr. Ioane. Genuinely, there's no other player I think at that position I would want. Obviously, if I'm top five, I'm gonna change my mind. But come on now, I'm happy that did not happen, and it just kind of shows me where EDC's mentality is as a GM. I'm sorry, he wants more picks. For what? He's shown me time and time again he misses on more than he drafts. And that's how most of the GMs are. I mean, look at John Lynch. Holy hell, the Niners had a stinker of a draft. Genuinely,
Yeah.
I hate to judge them way before, but that was not looking good. But he gets all these fourth round picks and he just starts, just taking quantity over quality. He'll just start taking guys to take them, and that's kind of where my issue is with him. We'll talk about them more in the draft, but it just goes to show he does not learn from his mistakes. The trading back and the accumulation of picks. Cool, we would have what, 13, 14 picks? Great. How many of them are going to make the 53-man roster?
Yeah.
75% of them. You're going to have guys like Garrett Dillinger, who we drafted just last year, not on the team anymore. Other players, Kone Longerbeam, have not played a snap for the Ravens, drafted last year. Guys like Devin Leary, waste of a pick. We can keep on going on and on about those day 3 picks. We don't need any
Yeah.
more of them. We're cool with what we have, along with our comp picks as well. We are perfectly fine with them. He traded up finally, but gave up, I think, 1 pick this year. So, EDC, I got my eyes on you. Jesse Minter, and thank you for sticking with your philosophy. Thank you very much.
Yes, yes. Those actions, they're speaking the same language as his words, and I love that. I love that. Real quick, we have a super chat donation. This one's coming from Void. Appreciate you, Void, for making it rain here on this episode 401 of the Purple Rain podcast. Void says, we drafted 2 tall jump ball, meet me in the sky type receivers back to back. What does that say to you about Declan Doyle's big play hunting ideas? Alex, we're going to get into all the players, of course, when we get into, when we start getting into that. But just real quick, take this one. What do you think?
So, obviously, both of them, very little separation. I saw the charts, but it's hard to deny the talent, I think, when they get the ball thrown to them. For me, with JaKobi Lane, it's so much more than I think a receiver. It's his attitude. Saw a clip of him, waiting outside of a locker room in a USC game for the other team. I love that personally. I love how he has that, hate to say that wide receiver diva mentality. Not that he is soft by any means, but he might have a screw loose up here. And unfortunately, with the best receivers in the league, most of them have that. So I'm cool with that. I just hope that we can develop him. It's a whole new coaching staff, a whole new regime. We finally developed a receiver in Zay Flowers. I think we can all agree. Obviously he has parts to improve on, but he's now a back-to-back Pro Bowl receiver. So hopefully they learn their way, but with having a Declan Doyle, and I think, JaKobi Lane talked to Caleb Williams about the Declan Doyle offense, obviously. Doyle was there with Caleb Williams, and he raved about it, which gives me really high hopes for Lane in this offense, and Sarratt as well. I think he was a great pick for where he picked him at, I think, in the 4th round. Was not expecting to go, I think, back-to-back receiver. I was expecting a center there, but I'm happy with it. And it goes to show, I think this is a new regime, and we talk about bearing them on the special teams. I think these guys will get actual snaps. Would not surprise me if we see them, game 1 out there, meaningful plays, and I'm really excited for it. I don't know what to expect, and that's kind of how I'm gonna just judge this whole draft process. I can't say, oh, this guy is not going to be amount to anything like a Tez Walker and a Harbaugh that we barely saw him because he's playing special teams, every game. So I think that they will develop. Obviously not, all pros. I would love for them to be the next Puka Nacua. But there is some promise, I think, especially with JaKobi Lane.
Yeah. JaKobi Lane, definitely the most intriguing wide receiver prospect that the Ravens acquired in this year's draft. And I'll get into more of my technical evaluation of him once we reach him in our draft assessment, whatever you want to call it, review, whatever you want to call it. But what I will say is you made a good point about he's kind of got a little bit of a screw loose up there. You know what I mean? I think he would fit in perfectly. Not to say that these guys are like unintelligent, whatever. But he was just kind of got that little bit of crazy in him, a little bit of that diva, a little bit of that main character energy, that comes with like wide receiver ones, right? So I think that's a very good point. It's not necessarily a bad thing when it comes to ones. That's just kind of historically how they've been. and historically how you kind of have to be. You kind of got to be a little bit flashy, right? I mean, that's how you get more opportunities, you know? So, but listen, man, I do think that, and again, we're going to get into it. Back-to-back wide receivers, both bigger body guys. I do love that, but there are also reasons. There are also reasons why I don't love it, and we'll get into that. But thank you so much, Void, for your super chat donation. We appreciate you, brother. Be sure, guys, we have over 120 people watching live right now. Shout out to you guys. This is across all platforms. Make sure you please like the video if you are watching on YouTube. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. We do cover the Baltimore Ravens here multiple days a week and other sports as well, the other days of the week. So make sure you stay locked in here with PRP. And again, all super chat donations, of course, will be displayed up here above us. You know, we want to list our recent events and everybody who donates and supports the show. That's super cool. So we put you guys up there up top. And of course, we'll bring up your comment on screen and we'll discuss it live here on the show. Okay. Alex, I think we can go ahead and start diving into these selections here, yeah?
Yes, we can.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. So the first one, obviously, we were on Jason's stream for this one when it went down. Round 1, pick number 14. The Ravens barely drafted Vega Ioane, right, from Penn State. This is the guy who we all wanted as Ravens fans. And listen, when I saw that the pick came through, I was ecstatic. I was already kind of like, I already had it in my mind that like, this would happen. So like I wasn't shocked when they picked Vega, right? But I was definitely relieved because like I mentioned before, you get an engine starter on that offense. You get a guy who is going to be nasty in the run game, mauling in the run game. But then he prides himself. He said this himself. He said he prides himself on practicing his pass pro every single day. And he's got a good anchor on that interior O-line as well, which he's going to need going up against the likes of, Derek Harmon, who's a guy who he used to match up with in college. And apparently they don't really like each other. They got a little chippy, a little nasty with each other in college a couple times. He's going to have to go up against the likes of Dexter Lawrence. So his work is definitely going to be cut out for him. But this is why I love this pick because, like I said before, the Ravens needed to be as intentional as possible addressing that offensive line. And we'll give our final draft grades towards the end, but this is how in real time, the draft started off with an A+ grade with this pick at 14. What did you think of Vega Ioane at 14?
Yeah, I mean, we were both I think on Jason's stream, we both kind of talked about how we've expecting this for weeks. I think it was a smash mouth, this slam dunk, A+. It's something that was needed. Obviously, when Ruben Bain was there, you can make questions, but for what we saw last year and for the play of just the line, it would just feel wrong to say, we didn't want him. We needed this guy. He brings a bit of nastiness. I think that somebody mentioned we hadn't seen him since a Ryan Jensen. Think about that. Ryan Jensen, the same Ryan Jensen who stood up for Joe Flacco after he got his clock clean by Kiko Alonso, I think in 2016-17. We needed that. And we got it with him. And I think hearing him talk, even him saying he has to still prove himself, which obviously that, but hearing him say that how he doesn't even think he has a starting job coming. Brother, man, you are starting week 1. You are going to be there, whether it's right guard, left guard. Probably right, I'd say, because Simpson will be left. I'm not too sure. But yeah, A+, you can't get mad at this. It's everything we need, everything we've been asking for in a lineman, and it's right there. And to know that we got him over, I'd probably say maybe 3 to 4 other teams trying to trade up to that pick 13 to steal him from us says a lot. NFL ready, day 1 ready, bring it on, and we have an anchor. Fingers crossed. And also, you need a Samoan on your line. Like, with all due respect, this is going to sound bad. I need some Republicans and some Samoans on my line.
There you
I hate
go.
to say it.
Yeah,
I really do.
Talk about it.
And I need a flashy tackle as well. And I think we have all of that. So give it to me. Sucks Ben Cleveland didn't work out because he would fit that criteria. But you do need a Samoan on the line. And we got ours.
For sure. No, man, love everything about Vega from his size, his work ethic, and then also what he puts on tape, man. Again, like we said, he's violent. And like he mentioned in his post-draft presser, whatever you want to call it, after he was selected, he said that he's going to make sure that nobody touches his quarterback, and I think that guys really take pride in protecting Lamar Jackson. I think above other quarterbacks almost, just because of how supportive Lamar Jackson is of his offensive line, one, but because his offensive line knows that if they if Lamar Jackson gets sacked, something had to go very, very wrong up front, right? Because Lamar Jackson's not a quarterback who gets sacked very easily. You know what I'm saying? So I think that guys would take like a little bit extra pride, like just in knowing that, hey, look, like this guy's going to make a play. As long as I hold up for an extra second, extra 2 seconds, whatever, this guy can make a play, and we've seen that before in the past. So hopefully Vega Ioane is everything that he is cracked up to be. I know a lot of people had concerns about him, moving his feet in outside zone schemes that Dwayne Ledford's going to run really heavily, but I don't see a world where that's going to be a huge issue for him. It's one of those things where like, yeah, he may not be as good, right? In schemes like that, but I think that it's kind of a myth and a little bit of an overrated take to say that like, oh, in zone he's not going to be as good. As a matter of fact, I think in concepts like power, where he has to pull and things like that, he's not as good as just actually going in one direction with the offensive line. So overall, I love the Venga pick. Let me reset my camera here for in a second, but Alex, you go ahead. What else did you think about Venga? Yeah.
Well, why you do it? I believe at his pro day at Penn State, I think it was Dwayne Ledford leading the drills as the coach, which I hate to say, it kind of gave it away, but it gave it away. And I think, for people to say maybe it doesn't fit in Ledford's scheme, man, it sounds like this guy Ledford wanted him. And from looking at the call, they had many conversations. Maybe they manifested him becoming a Raven, but it just kind of just the stars aligned. It was a perfect storm. And then we have our guard for the future. Don't want to sit here and say it's going to be next Yanda, but that's kind of the hope. If you can give me that level of play for as long as Yanda did, or even just be 85, 90% of Yanda, I'd be very, very happy. And I look for many all pros. Hell, what is that? The Lineman of the Year award? Hell, bring me that too. I don't care. I would love for that to happen, but welcome to the Baltimore Ravens, Mr. Ioane.
And some people, Alex, were talking about the prospect of him maybe even playing center, because he did. I saw some clips surfaced online. It sounds like you don't like it, but it sounds like, I saw some clips online. I think my guy Coach posted it actually, how he definitely played a couple of games or at least one game at center, and he didn't look bad doing it. So could you see maybe Venga playing center, and then, you have Simpson at the right guard and Jones at the left guard, or vice versa? What do you think about that?
And then I know we saw possibly Emory Jones playing center. There was some rumors that he's been, trotted out there at center too. So I'm not too sure how that works. But I agree with Glaucoma here. I don't want my first round pick switching natural positions. He got drafted at 14 for the reason of playing guard, and there's still some centers out there that we can get, and I think we'll get more of the center talk when we get into our final grade. But yeah, I stick him at guard for the time being.
Yeah, for sure. Like again, like you mentioned, 14th overall pick. We're not going to experiment with him doing something that he has not been doing recently in college. So yeah, definitely start him at guard. And like you mentioned, we'll talk about center more towards the end here, because after the Venga pick, it kind of got a little bit like open season. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like, okay, well, after this, we could go a couple of different directions. And they really surprised me with their next pick here. Let's go ahead and get into that one. With pick number 45, the Ravens went ahead and they selected Zion Young, edge out of Missouri, round 2, pick number 45. This one to me kind of, I don't want to say shocked me, but it shocked me a bit. I thought that the Ravens would go pass catcher here with this pick number 45, get their guy who's going to be a solid starter, a guy who is going to be a rotational piece, especially with 12 personnel and things like that. But I don't know. Again, Zion Young, what I took from him in my assessment when I kind of looked over his film and kind of like his profile and things like that, he's a very good power edge setting edge, right? He developed some really good pass rushing moves in 2025 with an interior rush move, which I really, really love to see. However, I did think that with how deep this class was at good edge rushers, they would have maybe waited a little bit longer, especially considering you have a Trey Hendrickson who you just acquired. And I know people say, oh, he's 31, Sutton. Oh, he's not great against the run, Sutton. It's like, okay, cool. But have we totally given up on Mike Green? Have we given up on Tavius Robinson, especially under the tutelage of now Jesse Minter's defense? I have not. So while I do like the Zion Young pick, apparently he was projected to go a little bit. We actually got him for a little bit of a steal, according to the big board consensus boards or whatever you want to call it. But I'd say I liked this pick, but I definitely didn't love it. What did you think?
I do love it. I think where you got him is definitely a steal. I saw he's being mocked in the first round for a lot of people. I think he brings something that we could really use, and that's, I think, just in the run game. I think he had, I want to say 11 and a half, 12 and a half tackles for loss, and I think he had 6.5 sacks last year, and I think he only played in 24 games because he got redshirted, I want to say, but he put up some really, really good numbers in the games he played in. Um, I also thought of, we lost a guy in Kyle Van Noy and David Ojabo. For what it was worth, it's snaps, and you've got to get somebody to take those snaps. I'd rather have a second round guy like him than a fourth or fifth round guy who is not really going to, I think, impact the game. I'm cool with Zion Young. From what I saw when I was making the video, I'm like, he was disruptive. I think he brings a lot of energy, which we need. I like that dog he has, kind of even the overtime clip. I love that. I love the energy he's going to bring. And it'll be great. Him and Tavius can stop the run, and you have Mike Green and Trey hopefully doing their thing. But to give up on Mike Green after 1 year in a Zach Orr defense is blasphemous. It really is. You cannot sit here and judge him off of 1 year in that defense. I think it's very unfair to him. Same with Malachi Starks. If you're judging him off of last year, you can't do that. It's very unfair. I think it's a whole new clean slate for them. I think we saw enough from Mike Green to be excited about him, and I'm very excited for him. So I love the Zion Young pick. Give it to me.
Yeah, a couple of things that I did like when I was watching some of his tape is that he seems like a little bit more of a violent Tavius Robinson. People say that like this guy plays like a Raven Zion Young, and I can definitely agree with that. I do think that he will take, much like Mike Green, he'll take a year of, just kind of development. He probably won't pop off too much in year one. He'll probably do some things that kind of fly under the radar that you don't really see pop off the screen from the broadcast angle, specifically more like, again, setting the edge, things like that, stopping the run on certain plays. Um, but no, he will probably, for a second round pick, I don't think he's going to be as impactful this year as we might want him to be, but I think that he could definitely be an edge of the future for the Ravens. So Mike Green and him, Zion Young, could possibly be the future 2-star edge rushers for this team. Mike Green is a little bit more of a pass rush specialist, right? Natural pass rush specialist. And then Zion Young is kind of like an overall, all around 3-down outside backer. So, I mean, again, like I said, I like it. I just don't love it. And the only reason I don't love it is because I felt like at pick number 45, they should have went with, much like my guy World Class says here in the chat, they should have went with a wide receiver right there at that spot, or maybe even just, hey, let's be aggressive about offensive line. Let's get our center now. Even though center at 45 would have been a reach, I was thinking maybe round 3 for that, even though they didn't end up addressing it at all. Again, we'll get to that later. But Zion Young, again, liked it, didn't love it. Overall, he's got some good traits, and I think that with Jesse Minter, he can definitely do some work, maybe a little bit in 2-3 years from now. I'll say.
And I saw a couple of Mizzou fans talking about it. Somebody asked, like, would you say he's probably been one of your best edge talents coming out? And they rated him above Shane Ray, if you remember, a first round pick, I think in 2014, 15. They said he is much better coming out of college than Shane Ray was, and that to me is saying something, So I'm definitely cool with that now. Hearing guys who've been watching Mizzou football and watching Zion Young. So yeah, on to the third pick in the Baltimore Ravens draft.
All right. So on to the third pick here. Again, the Zion Young pick was my first little bit of a head scratcher. I was like, okay, maybe the Ravens will pick it up after this. Maybe they'll go out and they'll get the best center in the draft, since we're picking in the third round now. Maybe they'll get the best center in the draft. That's what I was thinking. But no. The Ravens did decide to go pass catcher. Okay, can't be mad. They went pass catcher. That's fine by me. They selected, with round 3, pick number 80, wide receiver JaKobi Lane out of USC, who we kind of talked about earlier. We touched on it real lightly here. And Alex, I want to let you take this one first, because I feel like I can just feel it based off of your smile right now. This is your favorite selection in this draft.
Think about what I do. I make edits. I make mixtapes. This edit USC made for him, I have genuinely watched it 20 times. It's one of the best videos I've ever seen in my life. The energy, everything, that just the one-handed catches. I actually was there at the Maryland game against USC when JaKobi Lane made the one-handed catch in the back of the end zone. Guy draped on him, and I was like, what the hell just happened? And fast forward to him now becoming a Raven. It's just very, very just like it's weird. It's, when you watch college ball and you see one of your team draft one of these guys. Obviously, I'm not gonna sit here and say he's gonna be a superstar. The separation obviously worries me, but we do need that 50-50, guy. And that's him. And will we trust him with it? I don't know. I don't know what a Declan Doyle Baltimore Ravens offense will look like. From what he told us in his interviews, hell yeah, it might be there. But I can't sit here on April 27th at 7:10 p.m. Eastern Time and say, you know what, he's going to be our 50-50 red zone guy. I don't know what it is. What I want it to be is a serviceable guy in his rookie year who has a solid year, is not given 1 to 2 targets every 3 weeks, is a guy who you give him his targets. You can, let him make some moves after catching, and maybe give him a red zone target here and there. Because last year felt like it was Derrick Henry or die in the red zone. Even Zay Flowers, we weren't really utilizing him correctly in the red zone. JaKobi Lane, I hope he can get some one-on-one matchups, maybe with a third or fourth DB. Throw it up. Let the young man try to make a play. Do I love it? I'm more like in between the like it and love it because I really wanted a center here, and that's going to be my probably. I'm going to keep repeating that as this time goes on. I want a center very, very badly, and they're coming off the board, and we weren't picking them. So for this, I do like it a lot. I'm close to love it, but I'm not all the way there. But just his energy he brings, I just like everything about him. He's like a 2026 receiver that I hope works out.
Yeah, for me on this one, I don't like it. I don't like it. Couple reasons. One, which will be foreshadowing to the next pick. I actually thought that the next receiver that the Ravens got is actually a better pound for pound receiver than JaKobi Lane. But again, we'll talk about Elijah Sarratt here in a couple of minutes. When it comes to JaKobi Lane, and I want to be very careful with my words here, Alex, because I have been banging the table on this very show for years now for the Ravens to go out and get a big body wide receiver. And with JaKobi Lane being 6'4" and sub 200 pounds, he's right at about 200 pounds. He can kind of fit that mold in a couple of ways. Now, where he kind of loses me a little bit is the lack of physicality, right? The lack of, I would say, his route running is not terrible, but it could be better. This is, again, something that I think the other guy, I favor him more in that department, route running. But the spectacular catches is what intrigues me the most, which it makes him the more intriguing receiver of the two. Because if this guy, 6'4", again, almost 200 pounds, if he can put on a little bit more weight, which I think will naturally happen in the NFL once he starts going through the pro level training regimens and things like that, he's going to have to naturally put on some more weight. They're going to have him on a diet. He's going to put on some more weight. I need to see, because he's already not a great separator, I need to see how quickly he can get Lamar Jackson to trust him. Because, Alex, like you said, this guy, we don't want to see him getting 2 or 3 targets every 2 or 3 weeks. You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy who you're going to want to get him in a rhythm. Much like any other wide receiver, you got to get them targets to get them going to see what you have, which is why I'll say this. I have 2 players in this draft, 2 draft selections in this draft, Alex, that I am really, really going to be keeping my eyes on in the preseason. 2 most interesting players that I need to see in the preseason. One of them is JaKobi Lane. What I think needs to happen in the preseason is you need to see when the Ravens get down in the red zone, right, and they still want to spread it out, go 11 personnel, right, and have 3 wide receivers on the field. You need to see JaKobi Lane stretch vertically and get in the end zone. I need to see them call and dial up a couple of fade balls for JaKobi Lane in the preseason. Let's see what we have right here, right now, right? Because if Lamar Jackson, I think, again, JaKobi Lane, he passes the vibe check for the locker room, passes the vibe check, right? But if he can show on the field early and often, so in training camp and in preseason games, that he can kind of little boy these defenders, especially in the red zone, yeah, then Lamar's going to trust him because he's going to be like, oh, that's my new Isaiah Likely. He's a wide receiver, but that's my guy who I can kind of throw it up to, and I can trust that he's going to come down with it. So I need to see that early and often. Outside of that, he's really just a developmental piece. He's a developmental guy. I think he's got great athleticism. I think he kind of reminds me of the animal like a gazelle, right? Very majestic in his running, but he's kind of long, you know what I mean? And you touch him, he'll go down. He's not a really big run after the catch guy. So in the AFC North, again, when it gets cold outside and you're playing against the Steelers or the Browns or the Bengals in these gritty games, right? In late December, things like that. Will he have the toughness to really consistently separate and be open for Lamar Jackson? That's what I'm waiting to see. Now, what I do think, again, the Venga pick, getting that offensive line right and giving Lamar Jackson more time to find guys like JaKobi Lane, I think boosts his stock as well. But overall, in a nutshell, I think that at this spot, like you mentioned before, it was time to go ahead and lock up that center position and just make sure without a shadow of a doubt that this offensive line was fully taken care of, But they didn't do that. They went for JaKobi Lane and then doubled it up with another receiver who, again, we'll talk about next. But again, JaKobi Lane, very intriguing prospect. Very intriguing prospect. But for where the Ravens took him and his skill set, I don't really like it. I don't really like it.
And to play devil's advocate as well, you're taking a developmental guy in the third round, especially with I think where the Ravens are at. You want to get somebody who can come in day one and hopefully start. I know. I think I just saw he has one of the biggest hands. I think 10.5 inches in the whole draft. So maybe the Ravens like that. Obviously, he made the one-handed catches, the flashy plays. If they think that can really help out with those 50-50 balls, I'm all for it. But yeah, I see what you're saying though. In the third round, you want somebody who can come in, year one and really impact. And
Day one
will he do that?
producer.
I hope so. I really hope so, but who knows? I mean, our third round picks in the past 2 years, what is that? Adisa Isaac and Emory Jones. And those guys have been hurt when we get them out of college. Hopefully, Lane is healthy and is ready to contribute day one, but what's his volume going to look like? So, not too sure. Kind of crossing the fingers of that. Like you said, the preseason this year, we always kind of say that, like, it's always interesting for us, but I'll tell you what, if I don't want to bring up too soon, if Diego Pavia is out there come preseason and we have JaKobi Lane and Elijah Sarratt, I will be there. I think that's going to be such an intriguing offense to watch under Declan Doyle. Like, I don't think Lamar will be playing, but just have, like, just these colleges kind of, not superstars, but they're pretty up there in the rank. You know their names. Watching them ball in preseason, it'll be fun to watch.
Oh yeah, definitely. It'll be a fun preseason
Pavia.
for sure. We'll definitely get into Diego Pavia later on in the episode because that was a very interesting development that I did not see coming. I did not see that coming at all. But here we are, nonetheless. Real quick, guys, be sure, please, like the video. Leave a like on the video. We're at about 45, 46 likes right now. Can we get that up to about, can we get 50? Can we get 50 and can we boost it up beyond that? We'd appreciate you guys. Again, if you're part of the replay gang, wherever the like counter is at right now, just give it one more. Hit that like button. We'd appreciate it here. And also subscribe if you are new to the channel. Again, this is the Purple Rain Podcast. Moving right along, Alex. So who do we have next? Oh, we kind of alluded to him here. And by the way, guys, I know we're kind of going fast here. I know a lot of you guys have you're giving your takes down below in the comments. I'm trying to keep the flow of it going. Obviously, super chat donations will stop. We'll bring those up, of course. And then I'll try at the end to bring up some more of the comments, over your overall draft thoughts. But keeping it pushing here. So next, we had another wide receiver pick. And again, we alluded to this a second ago. Round 4 pick number 115 went to wide receiver Elijah Sarratt out of Indiana. Now, this was a pick that after the JaKobi Lane pick, I definitely didn't see coming. I thought that the Ravens were going to go wide receiver, and then they were going to go, okay, now we got to do the right thing. Let's go center. Let's go defensive tackle, right? Let's maybe even go corner or something like that. But no, they doubled down and went with another wide receiver, which, again, a little bit head-scratching. And by the way, Alex, one more thing that we didn't mention, or maybe you touched on it and I didn't hear, but the Ravens knew that JaKobi Lane had a connection to Todd Heap. Right. So it's kind of also one of those, it feels like it's about who you know type of pick, and that was another reason why it kind of was a little bit off-putting to me because it felt like it was a little bit of a reach. It was a little bit of a reach for a player like that who, again, is going to be a developmental piece who I don't necessarily see coming into his own until like maybe year 2, year 3, maybe as a high-end wide receiver too, something of that sort. But no, right after that, again, at pick number 115, they drafted Elijah Sarratt. Go ahead and give your assessment on Elijah Sarratt. Did you like, love, or hate this pick, Alex?
So I liked it. I wanted a center here. I think I was texting my boy. I was like, if we get a center, 115, I think we drafted. I'm like, this caps out at an A for me. Like the lowest I can give is like an A minus because I think we hit damn near everything we really needed: the center, the edge, a receiver, and then a big body receiver and then a center. To receiver, I'm like, all right, hold up. I knew the Sarratt name, from watching Indiana. I think he had like 15 or 16 touchdowns. Knack for the end zone. All right. I think he excels, I believe, in the fade. I want to say in the fade route, and he went to St. Francis here in Maryland. So you know how to win me over when you're a local boy. But after watching him, he was making some guys miss. He was definitely impressing me, and what it really led me to believe is they're both obviously going to make the roster. But I think it's a new age of Ravens receivers. Maybe we get a vet, but at the same time, bro, Bate, you're in year 5. Zay, you're in year 4. My brother in Christ, you are the vets. I think it's time for them to kind of graduate in that leadership role. Obviously, we had Hopkins last year, but they're really showing a lot of trust in these younger receivers. And I think, they're getting to different skill sets. I'm actually really excited to see what he can do. I think he'll have more yards, I think, than JaKobi Lane at the end of the year. I think Lane will have more touchdowns, Sarratt more yards.
Interesting.
It's a hot take to say. I mean, he had 15 touchdowns in college, but I think he'll get more balls. I think not in the red zone.
Yeah, and for me, when I was watching Elijah Sarratt's film, for me, he's a certified chain mover. Right, he can get open. He's kind of the guy who, like, in the intermediate, you really, really want on your team. Like, again, JaKobi Lane might be the guy who in the red zone you target a little bit more often, but Elijah Sarratt, literally between the 20s, right? He's money. You know what I mean? Like, he can get open. His nickname is literally Waffle House, right? And they call him Waffle House for a reason. I mean, that's the best nickname that I've heard for a wide receiver in a minute now. Waffle House, because he's always open. You know what I mean? So I love that. He's a good route runner. And then on top of that, he's got great hands. He's not the best separator, much like JaKobi Lane, but he's got great hands and, of course, size as well. And like you mentioned, it feels like a totally new era of Ravens wide receivers. Normally, under Harbaugh, we would have definitely taken insert sub 5'10" receiver from Florida school here. You know what I mean? We would have went with something like that, a prospect like that. But the fact that it seems like Declan Doyle and Jesse Minter, who I'm sure had a lot of input on a lot of these picks here, are saying like, hey, look, we need guys who can complement the guys who we already have, right? We have Zay Flowers, who is a smaller, shiftier receiver who can threaten vertically over the middle, things like that. But we need a guy who's going to be like a possession receiver, like a taller guy who, jump balls. We know you guys lost Isaiah Likely over free agency, so we need to replace him and what he's able to provide. And that was part of the reason why I did like these two wide receiver picks. Like, context aside, like where they were selected and things like that, I do love their measurables. Their measurables do impress me. And it feels like, this new Ravens coaching staff shares a lot of the same kind of values that these end of the bar fans want. You know what I mean? Like, for so long, it felt like Ravens fans were their voices just weren't heard, and like they made us feel crazy. They gaslit us at every single waking opportunity to let us think that, oh, you guys don't know football. These are the type of pieces you need. No professional would think like you end of the bar fans. All for Jesse Minter and Declan Doyle to come in and basically say like, no, the end of the bar fans were right. End of the bar fans were right about this one. We need receivers who are going to complement Zay Flowers nicely. Like, we don't need redundancy at that position. So, overall, Elijah Sarratt, I do like that pick. He's actually, again, like I said, I think pound for pound, a better wide receiver than JaKobi Lane. He gives up a little bit in height to JaKobi Lane, only by a couple inches, but he's still a damn good player who I think is going to absolutely be a staple on this team. I think by year 2 at the latest, right? Because just of how reliable I think he'll be. So.
Yeah, and you have to think about too. I think Bateman's contract is at the end of this year. I want to say. I hate to look, to the future. Then you kind of stuck with Zay Flowers and who else? You want the guy who can complement him. And I was thinking about, the Bears offense last year. I think Rome for like the first 10 weeks was like one of the best receivers stat wise in the league. I think Luther Burden had a really good rookie year. They were able to get the best out of these younger receivers. I'm looking at Declan Doyle for that too. You know, I can't call Bate and Zay the young receivers anymore. Like, they are becoming the vets. I'm looking at the guys now like a Lane and like a Sarratt. Like, they're the young guys. So how can we develop them to be the best receivers they possibly can? And Declan Doyle, I think that's your test. That's one of your little, I think, projects you can say is these guys. How can you make them formidable targets and weapons in this offense? And I think he's up for the challenge. Like you said, the whole time, that was JaKobi Lane, but with Sarratt, the Baltimore ties, and then just I think just getting in the end zone, chain mover. We need that. We weren't really, to me, getting a lot of first downs if your name wasn't Zay Flowers last year as a receiver. It was just Zay, and I think I saw on Twitter, Zay and Friends is what they were calling it, and I could not agree more. That's what it was.
Pretty much, pretty much. Another thing on Elijah Sarratt, above average hand size as well. Above average hand size.
Like
So
Lane, like you
I
said.
think yeah, I mean, they're kind of getting those guys like bigger body wide receivers who, again, can help out Lamar Jackson when he's in a pinch, or again in the red zone where you really need guys who are going to be able to create mismatches. And that's where I really think that the Ravens are going with their wide receiver selections in this draft. Like Declan Doyle probably went to them and said, "Hey, look," or Jesse Minter had the idea like, we want to create one-on-one mismatches for Lamar Jackson, because Lamar Jackson, he is known to pull the trigger. I mean, Lamar Jackson, for the, he gets the moniker of being a running quarterback, right? But really what he is he is Brett Favre that can run really fast. You know what I mean? He's a gunslinger. He's a gunslinger. Lamar Jackson is. And if he thinks that his guy has even the slightest advantage over your guy, it does not matter. He will throw it up to him and give him a chance. These are receivers that he will give chances to, right, when the going gets tough. And I can't wait to see who kind of emerges as the guy who consistently takes full advantage of those opportunities. So we'll have to see there. Again, I didn't like the JaKobi Lane pick, especially for where it was. But again, he's a more intriguing prospect than Sarratt. But Sarratt, for me, is a better all-around talent who I think will develop into a more impactful piece at the pro level, rather. So let's go ahead and move right along here, Alex. We're sticking on offense now, sticking with these round 4 picks. This next one is going to be Matthew Hibner, tight end out of SMU over in Dallas. Round 4 pick number 133. Now, I know you do videos, highlight videos on all these guys, so I know, like, especially for the skill players, you really look at these guys close and you're like thinking, like, what they can do, what they're able to offer. What did you see that Matthew Hibner is able to offer that he could potentially bring to this Ravens offense?
SMU pony up, like you said, like they say down there in Dallas. What I saw, and I hate to say it, just such a, like a cop-out answer, he wore the 88. I'm like, I low-key see a little bit like Charlie Kolar in him. Why? Okay. He's making these catches, and he's doing the scuba celebration after it, first off. Like, why is this tall white boy hitting it, wearing number 88? Like, it's just giving me the Charlie Kolar goofy tight end vibes, but he was giving you a little bit of do-it-all. I don't think he'll be elite in any of them by any means, but he was blocking. He was catching. He wasn't getting a ton of separation, but he was, I think, jumping up for as much as he could and making catches. And you pair that with the Ravens' just good tight end ID and tight end development. I'm not going to say he's going to be an all-pro, but I think he can become a solid guy who, can make an impact on this team and complement Mark Andrews and Durham Smythe, which I don't really know. We'll get into the whole other pick with tight end. I think he's going to have to make the team. He has to. I think when you trade up for him, he's a 4th rounder, but he gives you a bit of everything. Jack of all trades, I think master of none is really smart to say for him. You know what you'll get, and he'll do it at a high level, but not an elite level. And it's a good pick. Trading up for him, though, I'm a little worried about that. I think he definitely would have been there at 154, but maybe they heard something about him. Other teams wanted him, and they really want him. So, you know what? Let's trade up 20 picks, give up, I think, a 6th-round pick and one next year for him, I think. And they got their guy they wanted. So, I guess I like it. You need a tight end, and they feel like they can develop him.
I love this pick, Alex. I do. 6'4", 250 pounds, and runs a 4.5, right? And is also a great blocking tight end. This is a guy who I'm ecstatic for. I think that the Ravens can develop into one of the better tight ends in this league. When I was watching his tape, he reminded me actually of a young Mark Andrews, just kind of the way that he used his athleticism and spatial awareness to stretch the seam on the field. Like, he'll literally run right up the middle of the field and have his hands ready and available for his quarterback. And we know Lamar Jackson in between the numbers is money. He's money out, outside the numbers too. Don't get me wrong, but in between the numbers, that's kind of like his bread and butter, has been since he came into the league. And I think that Matthew Hibner will give Lamar Jackson 2019 Mark Andrews vibes. And I think that if Lamar catches wind of that early in training camp or things like that, he could be a legitimate target, a legitimate threat. I mean, you got to think, we just lost Isaiah Likely and Charlie Kolar. So outside of Mark Andrews, we have no tight ends other than, Durham Smythe, again, more of just a solid blocking tight end, inline guy. But this is a guy, and actually both of the tight ends we drafted, we'll talk about Josh Cuevas here in a minute too, but both of these guys play really, really well in line, which basically means they're going to be attached to the offensive line. But outside of that, they can uncover and get open and run routes, things like that too. And this is a guy who specializes in that. So I was very, very happy about this pick. Maybe the Ravens did reach just a little bit on him, but when it comes to tight ends, I fully trust the Ravens. I do. You got to remember, we got Isaiah Likely also in the 4th round as well, and you see what he turned out to be. So Matthew Hibner, for me, definitely a guy who flew under my radar in the pre-draft process, but I like what I saw from him on tape. I like his measurables, and again, I like his speed as well. I like his speed, very sneaky speed for a tight end. So I love the Matthew Hibner pick.
I'm just moving on here. I'm looking. I saw he said he tried to emulate more of like a Likely in his game, and then I think his favorite tight end he really wants to emulate is Dallas Goedert. So we can definitely get a little bit of Dallas Goedert from him. I'd be very, very pleased with that. So, come week 1, probably him, Andrews, and Smythe, and not sure what Cuevas will look like in this team. But we could run four tight ends for sure, because Smythe can do the fullback. He can do it all tight end as well. Yeah, I like it. You love it. I mean, I'm mad at that.
Yeah. I could definitely see him a lot, a lot of 12 personnel where the Ravens have 2 tight ends on the field. I could definitely see Matthew Hibner in those situations. He's kind of like a do-it-all tight end, and that's what I love the most, right? It seems like we're kind of getting guys, we're prioritizing versatility in a lot of ways in some of these draft selections, which I like a lot. You can tell that's kind of like a philosophy that Jesse Minter shares with a lot of the fan base as well. But yeah, Matthew Hibner, great pick for me. I love it. Alex likes it. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about Matthew Hibner. Really quick, like the video, guys. Please leave a like. I don't know how many likes we're at currently. Did we make it to 50? Oh, we're at 65.
There we go.
Can we push it about 70? Can we do that? If you have not liked the video yet, we got 200 people watching live across all platforms. Please be sure to like the video, and also follow us on Twitter. If you're watching on X as well, you can follow us. Let me see. All right. Okay, so next. Hibner can fly. I see in the chat. Great hands too, says Khalil Bowling. I agree. Can't wait to see what we get out of him. But next up here, this one was going to be, round number 5. So we're starting off with a round 5 picks here. Chandler Rivers out of Duke was the 5th round pick, 162 overall. Chandler Rivers, man, I mean, the Ravens went corner here. At this point, I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, we're not going to get a center. At this point, Graham Glasgow, you are a Raven. You know what I'm saying? Like, just go out and sign him right here, right now. But apparently, I don't know. Maybe they plan on doing that. Maybe they don't. But Chandler Rivers, what did you think about him?
I'm a little indifferent on this right now. Obviously, ball skills you can hit. I just feel like we have some weird fetish with shorter corners. I hate like kind of the short receivers. We have a fetish, it feels like. So I was looking at Charles Demings, and he's 6'1". I'm like, all right. I'm like, if we're gonna get a corner, he's right there. We take the 5'9" corner, and I'm like, ugh. I'm not too sure about that, but he can lay the wood. He can, has good ball skills. So I don't think I dislike this or hate it. I want to say I like it, but this is where my problem with EDC comes in now, because we already have Marlon, Uzier, Wiggins, Tampa. There's 4 right there. You have Kone and Longerbeam from last year. Where are they going to play? You have Keon Martin, who made the roster after a very impressive preseason. I think, and he also looked pretty good during the season as well. Now you have Rivers. Now you have 8 cornerbacks right here. How many do you roll into the season with? I think definitely 6. I mean, you're cutting 2. So you're cutting guys who you probably just drafted last year, or maybe a guy this year. I doubt Chandler Rivers gets cut. But you're probably going to give it to guys who invested capital in just last year. That's kind of where I kind of get worried about this. But if they like him, I'm all for it. But he does bring a different skill set. But I just, that height, it does scare me a little bit. Especially in the AFC North with some of the receivers we have to face.
Personally, Alex, I loved this pick. I did. I think that the Ravens got Chandler Rivers for a steal. I'll have to look up in a second where he was projected to go versus where we got him. But I think that he ended up falling because of his size, to your point. And yes, that does concern me a little bit. And let me just actually confirm this here. So yeah, the Ravens got him at 162. He was projected to go at 102, right? So a little bit of a steal there for the Ravens, according to the consensus big boards. But I think that the main reason why this is a fit for the Ravens is because of what Jesse Minter wants to do. Jesse Minter runs a very, very disguise-heavy defensive scheme with lighter bodies. He prioritizes lighter bodies being on the field as opposed to heavier bodies. What does this mean? This means that down low in the trenches, he wants less guys, which is why it's all the more important that guys like Nnamdi Madubuike come back and Travis Jones continues to be what Travis Jones is and things like that, because there's going to be less guys in the trenches, and more often you're going to see dime. You're going to see like 6 DB. You're going to see a bunch of DBs on the field. And a guy like Chandler Rivers, what he specializes is, yes, he's smaller, but he's got the instincts, right? And the awareness of like a cat. You know what I'm saying? Like he sniffs out offensive plays. He also is very, very, again, like I said, instinctive on breaking to the ball. He's physical. He's a willing tackler, which is something that's big, especially for a smaller guy. So as long as like teams aren't really hunting him if he's in coverage, you know what I mean? Like purposely trying to create mismatches and force him to guard guys over the middle who can kind of wall off him with a bigger body and things like that. I think he'll be fine. I think you'll see a lot of him rushing the quarterback. I think you'll see a lot of him playing in the slot as well. But for me, man, I do think that this pickup here was a really, really good one because he's going to see playing time. He's going to see the field. He's going to see the field just by nature of how many DBs Jesse Minter likes to play. So, and of course, Jesse Minter likes smart guys. So I like smart guys getting with smart guys. And that's what's happening here. I love the pick. I love the Chandler Rivers pick. I think it was a steal.
Who does he see it over? Who do you think he beats out for it?
It's a great question. It's a great question. Because I definitely think Nate Wiggins and Awuzie will be on the outside. You'll have Humphrey in that nickel spot. But I think that you might end up seeing Chandler take some of those reps, right? Because Marlon Humphrey, again, while he's still got a big contract, of course, I think they'll try to make him still a relevant piece in this defense. They're going to have to start phasing him out eventually. You know what I mean? And I think that with that, like Chandler Rivers, of course, he's not going to get the most playing time, but he's going to be a rotational piece that you see probably more often than you would expect, right? For a first round corner. So we'll see. I don't know exactly who. It depends. It depends on who in training camp really, shines and really steps up. Because the way I see it is this, Alex. Everybody, including the new draft picks, are on the same level playing field in the eyes of these new coaches, right? We don't have coaches who have had, drafted players over the years, like Harbaugh, who drafted Tampa and Wiggins and some of these other guys, you know what I mean? Coney, all those other guys too. These guys are coming in. These coaches are like, okay, let's just take stock. Everybody's on the same level. We don't have any bias towards these guys or not, right? And let's just go out there and put the best product out there. So I think with that being said, he'll definitely get some playing time. Chandler Rivers, he'll definitely get some playing time. He's not going to get doghoused unnecessarily and things like that. As long as he makes a couple of plays. He's another guy who, again, this was my second guy. This was my second guy who I'm most excited to see in the preseason. Right. I want to see how he deals with bigger bodies at this level. Of course, in the preseason, you're not going to see the most NFL proven talent. Right. But you're going to see the best of the best who was drafted and guys who are unrestricted, UDFAs, things like that. So I just want to see what he looks like defending at the pro level in the preseason, because that will determine whether or not he gets on the field often in the regular season. But again, I love the pick just because of his instincts, how smart he is. And I think he's a perfect scheme fit for what Jesse Minter wants to do on defense, again, being disguise heavy and DB heavy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just looking to see who doesn't make the team. That's kind of where I'm worried about. Because I think they all looked good last year in preseason until they got hurt. So we'll see. But on to the next tight end.
Yes.
On to the next. Josh Cuevas out of Alabama. Ravens go back down to All Reliable. And All Reliable was taking somebody from the old Crimson Tide. Obviously, Nick Saban not there, but they will take a gander on a tight end from Alabama, much like our former GM Ozzie Newsome, tight end from Alabama. This one, I didn't know how to feel about it. I didn't think we were going to double dip after we already took Hibner from SMU. I'm like, all right, well, we have our 3 tight ends. You have Andrew, Smythe, Hibner, but they did double dip and they took Cuevas. And I'll be honest, I didn't know much about him. I did not do a video on him. He was kind of further down. Did not think he was going to go to us. I thought it was maybe like 6th or 7th round, but no, made it the 5th round. I mean, I wasn't really impressed with what I saw. It was just kind of straight line stuff. You know, make a block, get off of it, catch it. Had struggle. He struggled, I think, catching kind of lower past to him. But I guess I don't hate it, but you need a tight end, so why not?
One thing I will say is, I mean, honestly, I actually really like it. I really like the Josh Cuevas pick. I do. And I guess what I'm kind of getting at here is I like the back half of the draft a little bit better than the front half, I would say. That might be like a little bit of an unpopular opinion, but outside of the Venga pick, things kind of started to go downhill for me a little bit. I know I was getting killed over the weekend for saying that, but that's kind of how I felt. The back half of this draft, I think we got a lot of good value pieces, and this is another guy here. I mean, you mentioned that you didn't really see too much from him. I saw a couple of things. I saw a guy who is kind of like a rumbler type of tight end. He's a big guy, hard to bring down, but not only that, he has like fearless athleticism as well. He does not mind hurdling a dude. He does not mind it. You know what I mean?
I like
I
that.
love to see tight ends do that. You know what I'm saying? Because I think
I
that they'll
hate that.
definitely. You said you hate it.
I hate it. I hate the hurdling. I just think it's very unnecessary. For tight ends, very unnecessary. I think it causes more harm than good. Running backs different. A tight end, I'm not a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I mean, we're talking about a what 19, 20-year-old kid. I mean, he's got the athleticism, he's got the chops, he can get it done, and he was clearing some dudes too. I mean, he's got a little bit of hops too. So I mean, don't sleep. Don't sleep. I think that Josh Cuevas, of course, the main thing about him, his blocking again. And what I really think we're seeing here with these tight end selections, Alex, is we're getting good, again, inline tight ends who are going to be attached to the offensive line and really, really help out in some of those zone run schemes. And this is where I really think that the Ravens' philosophy this year is going to be much like the Ravens' offensive philosophy back in the early Derrick Henry days when we first got him, right? Which is later in games and second halves, we want to lean on teams with the run game. You know what I'm saying? Like we want to punch you in the mouth, go downhill, right, and make you stop us. You know what I'm saying? So it's interesting with this draft. It kind of does seem like the Ravens are prioritizing size on offense to where they can kind of lean on you in certain ways and create mismatches and things like that. But on defense, they're prioritizing more like speed and like kind of processing and things like that. So it's interesting to see what direction they're going with that. But no, Josh Cuevas again, I think that he is a guy who can make the team as well. It's going to be hard once these roster cuts get in and things like that. It's going to be hard to see, who makes his team and who doesn't. But Josh Cuevas, I like what I saw from him. Again, a good pedigree coming from Alabama, and I think he'll fit really well in this system, especially with what the Ravens want to do on offense. Again, leaning on teams later in games with the run. So that is Josh Cuevas, ladies and gentlemen. Josh Cuevas, who was the round 5 pick number 173. But moving on from that one, we have a very, very intriguing one next. This one is round 5, the very next pick, 174. The Ravens selected running back Adam Randall out of Clemson. And really quick before I toss it to you, Alex, fun fact on this one, which I'm sure a lot of you guys might know, but this pick was actually made by Ravens owner Steve Bisciotti. Right, Steve Bisciotti said, "You know what? Let me get one." You know what I'm saying? It's like when you walk up to the kids in the park playing basketball, right? You're like, "Hey, let me get a shot real quick." You know what I'm saying? Like they pass you the ball and you put it up, and you either make it, you miss it. But Steve Bisciotti, he took that shot and he selected Adam Randall here out of Clemson. Now, Alex, I know you had to make a video on this guy. I know you had to make a video on him. What did you see?
Steve Bisciotti took a shot from half court and he fucking drained it. Pardon my French.
Mm.
Rasheen Ali, off you pop. You have to be insane this preseason to make the roster, unless they are going to carry 4 running backs. But from Randall, former receiver turned running back, I think he gives us what we've kind of been missing when Justice Hill wasn't playing. We didn't have that much of production out the backfield. I think Adam Randall will give it to us. I think Declan Doyle will allow us to really just be just as unpredictable as possible with running backs. When they had Swift and Manungai, I think defense didn't know really what to expect with either of them. Having a Derrick Henry now and a Justice Hill and a Randall. With Randall, kind of like Keaton Mitchell, I don't know what it's going to be when he's in the backfield. Is it going to be a runner or a pass? I hope they don't throw him in there on obvious, passing downs, but a little bit of both. I mean, I was really impressed with his hands. Like I said, former
Yeah.
receiver, he offers a lot. I love this pick. I'm just going to put it right there. I love it. Uh, he'll make the roster. I have no doubts about it. I think we'll see. He'll be kind of like one of the preseason darlings. I think he'll have a really good game, and then he'll probably play another half of another game. Like, all right, he made the team. We know what he can do. Bench him. I love this pick. Slam dunk.
Yeah, he's definitely up there for me. I mentioned two guys that I'm most interested to see in the preseason. He's right there in that third spot. He might even move up a one spot over Chandler Rivers, and right behind JaKobi Lane. But Adam Randall, man, when I looked, like, his game jumped off the screen. And you can tell that he was a former wide receiver just by how fluid he is with his hands. And then also in space, man. He's got the agility of a good, run after the catch wide receiver. And having that as a running back, like running through gaps and like being able to shift and change directions while running that hard. I mean, listen, he reminds me of a little bit of like a Cordero Patterson, but shiftier, right? Like that's what I kind of get from Adam Randall, and he's just an overall weapon. And the main thing that I like about him is that he is he's an ascending running back talent. Adam Randall is an ascending running back talent. He just started playing running back in 2025. And in his first year playing running back at Clemson, he averaged almost 5 yards a carry, 4.8 to be exact, and had 10 touchdowns. And again, oh, by the way, he's a receiving threat because he used to be a wide receiver. And oh, yeah, another thing, he's got the size as well. He's 6'2", 232 pounds, something like that, right? Only an inch shorter than Derrick Henry. So you know what I think is going to happen, Alex? I think when Adam Randall is on the field on 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4, whatever, you're going to have those linebackers peeking in the backfield like, oh, what are they doing back there? Is that Derrick Henry? Oh, he's damn near about as big as Derrick Henry. Is that Derrick Henry light back there? You know what I mean? That's going to be the new. I'm telling you, we had to change of pace from Derrick Henry to Keaton Mitchell, and it kind of threatened like a lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder. But with Adam Randall coming out of the backfield, I think you're going thunder for thunder, and you always have to worry about somebody coming through that A or B gap, right, and really, really running hard at you. So Adam Randall, I love that pick again. Like you mentioned, I think Steve Bisciotti hit it out of the park personally with that one. I cannot wait to see him in a Ravens jersey, and I can't wait to see him in the preseason because, again, I think that he could potentially be the future of this Ravens run game. And much like I mentioned with Marlon Humphrey, but not quite the same, Derrick Henry, not to say you have to start phasing him out because he's very squarely still in that window of like, okay, you're the guy, right? You're our running back, but at the same time, we know he's not going to be around for 3-4 more years. You know what I mean? So you got to get a guy in Adam Randall, who, again, is an ascending running back talent, very young in his running back days. So by the time he gets to about year 2, year 3, I think he's going to be running with the best of them, man. I'm excited for this pick. I cannot wait to see him, again, play football for these Baltimore Ravens. I love it.
Yeah. Hard to phase out Derrick Henry. 1,500 yards behind that line. Double-digit touchdowns. I think he'll have a similar line this year, but throwing Randall in there, it won't hurt to learn from one of the greatest of our generation, Derrick Henry. So, yeah, 10 out of 10. Fantastic pick, Stevie B. You did it again.
Yeah. World Class says, and you can have both Adam Randall and Derrick Henry on the field at the same time. Man, that would be tough. That would be tough to defend, man. It'd be tough to defend.
Doyle, what do you got?
What do you got, man? I mean, he's got all the tools to be about as creative as he wants to be. Am I right? So we'll just have to see. All right. So let's see. Moving right along here. What is our next one? Oh, we do have a super chat donation. This one's coming from Pick Six Flipper. Appreciate you, Pick Six, making it rain here on this episode of PRP. Says, hyped for Randall. Perfect to pair with the King. Yes, sir. That's exactly what we just got done talking about, man. Excited as hell for that pick. I don't know how Steve Bisciotti. I don't know if Steve Bisciotti. Okay. All right.
Eric, let me get one. Eric, I've seen your 6th round history. Let me get one.
Yeah, for sure. That's exactly what I would have said if I was old Stevie B, for sure. All right, moving right along here. Thank you so much, Pick Six, for the super chat donation. We appreciate that. Let me see. Moving along here. What else do we have? A couple more. So next was Ryan Eckley, punter out of Michigan State. This was a 6th round pick. Overall pick number 211. A lot of people regard it as the best punter in the draft. We were kind of talking how the Ravens should probably go UDFA at punter. But what were your thoughts on this, Alex?
I have to stand by my words. I'm gonna have to say I don't like it. I don't think you should be using a pick on him, but at the same time, it's a 7th-round pick. He is a good punter. I think if there's one thing I can evaluate is punters in the kicking aspect of the game. Very good punter. My only worry is his hang time. It wasn't the best. I think that's something Jordan Stout got a lot better with throughout his 4 years here with the Ravens. He became much better, allowed his gunners to get down the field a lot quicker. I hope a team that takes pride in special teams, maybe Minter, not as much as on Harbaugh, but I hope Randy Brown gets his work done and gets Eckley to get that right. But he could very well not make the roster. He's a six-round pick 211. We had the other undrafted guy picked up not too long ago. They could be battling it out. Yeah, it's not like a Loop situation where we bring in some other UDFA, but Loop kind of had that job secured. Eckley, he obviously had the edge, but hope he can get the hang time right. Outside of that, though, he has some really good punts with Michigan State. A little bit of swagger in him is what I liked. A little bit of attitude with the punter. Felt like a little bit of a Pat McAfee pick me a little bit. Didn't want to say it, but can't tell me I'm wrong there with the whole little Connor walk. I'm like, all right, let's calm down here. But if he does make the roster, I don't want to see him that much. Hopefully, we're not putting a lot. But
yeah,
if I were to really, if I didn't say don't draft a punter with your picks, I'd say I do like it because I think he's a good punter. But if you can get the hang time right, we'll be cool with him.
Yeah, I mean, pick 211. I'm not. And again, I was right there with you saying that the Ravens should go for a UDFA punter or maybe develop Elzinga, whatever. But if you're telling me we got the best punter in the draft, and oh yeah, here's a stat. He led the FBS last year with 48.5 yards per punt in 2025. And his career punting average is the most in Big Ten history. Another thing, he's also a holder as well. He's a holder too. That's big. And he's also, like you mentioned, he's got some moxie to him. So overall, I mean, I can't be mad at it. It was a position of need, right? If it wasn't a position of need, then I'd be like, what the hell is this? You know what I'm saying? But like, this is something that like, it was one of those glaring holes on the roster. So I'm not mad at it. Again, especially with such a late round selection like this. And we know, like we just mentioned, yeah, EDC, we've seen your 6th-round picks before at a lot of these other premium positions or whatever. And they haven't always hit. They typically don't hit. A lot of those guys don't end up making the team, right? So I think a punter here, when you really needed one, if it's going to be the best punter in college football, then hey, give him to me. Give him to me, right? Field position battles is important too.
I think it was a Big Ten punter of the year as well. I think he had all those accolades.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's pretty good to see from him. So not a bad pick by any means. Let's just hope it translates to the NFL and Randy Brown gets him right in minicamp, training camp, and rookie minicamp. All 3.
For sure. All right, moving right along here. The round 7 pick number 250 was defensive tackle Rayshaun Benny out of Michigan. I had here, he looks like a pretty decent depth 3-tech piece, right? He could struggle, I think, against like shorter and stronger guards who can kind of get better pad level on him because he's kind of like tall for the position. You know what I mean? Just a little bit. He's got like high hips, so like when you're trying as a guard to like get your hands on a guy, for him, a guy like him is going to be easier to get into his numbers, especially if you again get a smaller, again, like I said, a little bit shorter and more powerful guard. So we'll see if he ends up making the team. Again, this is one of those where it starts to get questionable, a little dicey. Like, is he going to make the team? Is he not? But what did you think about Rayshaun Benny?
Michigan guy, obviously. I think he spoke highly of Minter when we first signed him. Strong, early down guy. To me, I'm kind of looking at Broderick Washington now. It's like, I know he carries not a hefty cap hit, but it's still a cap hit nonetheless, where you cut him, get some money back, and now you can sign anybody without the comp pick formula. Maybe he's there, he could take his job, I'm not too sure. Surprised we went this late to get a guy defensive tackle. They must really trust Matty BK coming back and Travis Jones and Jenkins and all that, but Minter has to have familiarity with him. Don't hate it by any means, and is he going to make the roster? I don't know, but I think if he does show out, he could really take Broderick Washington's spot.
Yeah, we could see. I mean, Broderick Washington is a guy who, again, I thought was a little bit underrated for the Ravens, but again, wasn't really able to stay healthy and as productive as we wanted him to be. So totally understand that. But Rayshaun Benny, you are a Raven. And again, we don't know if these guys will necessarily become impact players, but again, it's a crapshoot, especially at this point in the draft. All right, now rounding it out here, With round 7, pick number 253, the Ravens selected offensive guard Evan Beerntsen. Evan
Yes.
Beerntsen, very, very weird last name, by the way. I've never seen that last name. It's kind of tricky to pronounce off the first go around, but I had a little practice, so I'm good now. Evan Beerntsen out of Northwestern here. Another guy who, again, a depth guard. I mean, you've already attacked guard. You've got John Simpson. You've got Emory Jones. You've got Vega Ioane. You've got Andrew Voorhees. You've got pieces there at guard. So I really think that this was more so a depth piece. Again, another guy who we're not exactly sure if he is going to make the team. But what did you think?
My boy was, I think, a 7-year senior. He
Oof.
used them COVID years, and he said, I'm just going to keep on riding them out. I think his first year in college football was 2019.
Wow.
Now think about that. His first year in college football was back in 2019. I think it was South Dakota State. I can't sit here and act like I know anything about the guy. I've seen that he had a stubbier build, is what they said, which is kind of disrespectful. I'm like, hold up. Don't talk about my guy like that. He's been through the ringer. Let him live. I think they said he was good in the run game. I can't sit here and act like I know much about Evan Beerntsen at all. I'll be honest. I hate to say it. I don't know if he makes the roster. I hope he does. It'd be a really good story. But best luck to you, Evan. Rooting for you.
Yeah, man. T's and P's. Thoughts and prayers, Evan. Thoughts and prayers. We'll see what ends up happening. But no, I didn't know he was an unk like that, Alex. I really didn't. But yeah, started playing ball in 2019 and college ball in 2019. Yeah, it's been a minute. It's been a minute, brother. But yeah, those were all of the draft picks for the Ravens 2026 draft. Now, there were also some not unrestricted, but undrafted free agents that came out of this draft class as well that the Ravens have already signed. Alex, do you have those on hand? Do you know which ones that the Ravens got?
I have multiple, and I'm going to start it off here. I am a founding father of the Lardarius Webb Jr. fan club. All right. I don't hear any shit talking about him. He is our younger brother. He is our younger cousin, and you got to protect this man. It's kind of like, I think when you're in high school, let's say you're a senior, and you have like a family member as a freshman. You kind of guard them, you protect them. You don't bully them, don't pick on them. I'm related to them, and that's kind of how I feel with Lardarius Webb Jr. He's one of us. Probably grew up a Ravens fan, been through all the ups and downs, highs and lows with us. He's had his highs and lows in college. I think Oklahoma State went to a smaller school and then went to Wake Forest. Busted his ass off. So rooting for him, but we do have a lot of UDFAs. I'm going to go through them. Jaleel Farouk from Maryland, wide receiver. Webb Jr. from Wake Forest. Aaron Graves from Iowa. Jaquez Robinson from Auburn, safety. Tyler Pizza, tight end from Brown. Ethan Burke, Texas, defensive end. Reed Williford, Charlotte, linebacker. Matthew McDoom, cornerback, Cincinnati. Talk about him. Dante McMillan, Eastern Michigan, running back. Trevante Sylvester, Louisville, tackle. Octavian Smith Jr., wide receiver, Maryland. Diego Pounds, Ole Miss, tackle. Want to look at. Nick Dawkins, center, Penn State. Definitely will talk about him. Cortez Braham, Memphis, receiver. Deion Wilson, lineman from Syracuse. And that was all. Then obviously Diego Pavia, quarterback, invited to rookie minicamp. Do any of those names stand out to you? Because I have a couple I would love to talk about.
Really the only one for me off the top of my head is Dawkins, Penn State lineman. Yeah, he was one that I saw a lot of people talking about, and he's got experience and chemistry with Vega Ioane, and I think that that's pretty valuable there. But now go ahead and get into them. Which ones are popping out to you?
Dawkins, team captain for the Nittany Lions. Diego Pounds, 6'6", 325 pounds, started in every game last year for Ole Miss. That's a big boy. Big boy. But I got to talk about Octavian Smith Jr. from Maryland, Burtonsville, Maryland native as well. I was able to watch him up and close. Wasn't anything explosive. He was their return guy. If he were to make a name for us, I think he will be in the return game. And then I think we also had the linebacker from Penn State as well. I don't think he's on this list. He was pretty impressive. Matthew McDoom from Cincinnati, 5'9". I think he could definitely be a practice squad guy. He was at Coastal for 3 years. Good hands, good in coverage. I think he'll be good in the preseason as well. Definitely want to.
Yeah, I mean, a name like McDoom, I definitely.
That too. You really got it.
Yeah. Please make it so we can get that jersey, right? In the Darkness Falls. Can you imagine? That would be crazy. That'd be crazy. No, but no, plenty of options, plenty of guys who you're going to be able to start organized team activities with, and mini camp and stuff like that. And of course, most of these guys will not make the 53 man roster, but it'll be interesting to see which guys do emerge as potential guys who do make it. And it was funny because before the draft, you had Eric Decosta talking about how they used to, with the scouts, like whoever could get a UDFA that would end up making the team, you would get some sort of bonus or something like that. I wish that they would bring back that structure, right? That incentive. Because I mean, it's pretty rare to get like UDFAs who actually do end up becoming impact players. So those guys do deserve recognition for that. But long story short, I do feel like, and we'll dive more into these in a future episode, but I do feel like the Dawkins kid from Penn State, if he could come in, like you said, team captain, he's got again experience and chemistry with Vega. It could be intriguing. It could be intriguing. But more on them in a future episode. There was one more thing that we had to cover here about the Ravens, and that was what you mentioned earlier, Alex, about what's his name, Diego Pavia, right?
Diego Pavia, and this is. I don't know how to put this. I like it. I do, for many different reasons. Guy played in the SEC, Heisman finalist. He obviously has talent. What really hurt him, he's a cocky dickhead, with all due respect. No agent, thinks his shit doesn't stink, thinks he's bigger than life, and he's not, and it really hurt his stock. I think he ate a humongous piece of humble pie, and I think it was well deserved. But now I'm rooting for him. I hope this kind of showed that, the world ain't all sunshine and rainbows. You have to bust your ass off for their position. And I think he'll be our practice squad quarterback. At the end of the day, I think he'll be the third guy. And I'll be looking forward to him in preseason if he were to sign with us after rookie minicamp.
Yeah. Another thing about Diego Pavia, like you mentioned, kind of like a short, cocky guy. Well, he's a cocky guy, but again, he's small, right? He doesn't have the best measurable. So the combination of those two things, like, oh, you're telling me that like you're going to be a diva, number one, and two, like you're also small. Yeah, that those two things do not mix very well. So I wasn't surprised that he went undrafted because teams are just kind of getting off of the smaller quarterback wave. Tua Tagovailoa is no longer a starting quarterback. Kyler Murray no longer a starting quarterback, at least not for now, right? It's just kind of moving away from that. So yeah, if you're also kind of like a dickhead, then that can work against you. But I mean, if he comes in and he's humble, he keeps his head down, he works hard, right? Obviously, he knows good and damn well he's nowhere near going to be starting over Lamar Jackson or hell, even leapfrog Tyler Huntley or even make the team. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully he comes in super humble. Of course, like you mentioned, going undrafted, that will humble a guy. But we'll see. We'll see with this Diego Pavia kid. We'll see.
Yeah. I don't think he's a bad quarterback by any means. I just think his head was a little too big. Like, I think even the Heisman, he was walking down in with his headphones in when people are there. It's just, that's never a good look for you. And he got flamed for it rightfully, and now you're kind of reaping what you sowed, and you're a Raven, so I hope he, kind of turns around and is able to take snaps in the preseason and not have Lamar play and not get hit. Pavia, you can take the hits. You're a camp body at the end of the day.
Pretty much a camp body. All right, Alex, now let's get into some questions here before we wrap this show. Almost 200 people watching live right now still. Thank y'all so much for coming out to this episode of the Purple Rain Podcast, episode 401. Please be sure to leave a like on the video. Alex, can we get a like check? Where are the likes at on the live here? Where are the likes at? Hopefully we hit 70. Maybe we hit 70. Hopefully we hit 70. That would be great. 100 would be awesome.
At 75.
75. Okay, not mad at that. But guess what? We still got some work to do. The kids ain't eating just yet. So please be sure to leave a like on this video. Again, helps us out a ton here on the channel, and we appreciate that. But okay, some questions here. One thing that I want to start with is this, and I see a couple of questions in the chat that I want to get to as well. But what was your biggest surprise of the NFL draft? Just overall, what was your biggest surprise?
Ty Simpson is such an easy cop-out. It's so easy. It's so easy to say.
It's a good one, though.
But I'm going to say Ty Simpson right now. I do have other ones. I think AFC really knocked it out. A lot of the AFC teams knocked out the park drafting-wise. I think the Browns had a good draft. I think the Bengals had a good draft. Steelers, division-wise, I think the Bills had a good draft. But just kind of the Jags and Niners, I don't know what they were doing. I think the Niners just surprised me how close they were, I feel like, to really making it on the Super Bowl. And they just did not draft well. And for a guy who I respect in John Lynch, I looked at his most recent drafts. After we go off stream, look at them. They're not pretty. They are not pretty at all. And I just thought they'd done better. But I guess just the NFC West between the Simpson and then the Niners is very underwhelming for a team that I consider to be a contender year in and year out. They just have not been drafting the best. That Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, saving him.
Yeah. And like sticking in that division, you mentioned the Rams and Ty Simpson being a cop out, but I think it's definitely worth mentioning, man. That's a huge acquisition, right? For at pick 13 for a team like the Rams who are in a win now window with Matthew Stafford. I mean, you just don't go with your quarterback of the future at 13 right there, especially considering he was probably going to fall, right? And you could probably get him later on in the draft, right? Maybe you trade up a little bit just to make sure you get him. But no, at 13, I definitely think that it was a reach. But I will say this, because I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago when we were talking to Jason on live stream. I said that there's something about this Ty Simpson kid that I really like. I said this after the combine. And normally, Alex, I'm right on these things. I'm normally right on these things. I was right about Bo Nix. You know what I'm saying? I just want to put that out there, But no, I think Ty Simpson, he's going to be a good quarterback. Of course, he's going to sit behind Matthew Stafford for the next couple of years here whenever Matthew decides to retire. But by the time it's time for him to play, I mean, he's going to step right into that role, kind of like how Jordan Love did in Green Bay. So we'll see. I think that him and Sean McVay, which was weird. I don't know if you saw the phone call between Sean McVay and Ty Simpson. It was a little awkward, right? Like Ty Simpson's like talking like this is the best day of his life. Like he's super excited, ready to get to work. And Sean McVay is like, yeah, no, man, you're going to work hard. I'm going to hand you back over to the GM now. Like, he just did not sound excited.
Too. And just, if I'm a Rams fan, I hate to say it, they were a muff punt away from making the Super Bowl. They were up, they muffed the punt, it gets the Seahawks all the momentum, and now they lose the game, and you take a quarterback in the first round? If I'm a Rams fan, I'm living it, and rightfully so, I get it. Like, Matt Stafford's coming off his first ever MVP season.
Yeah.
You take a quarterback?
You take a quarterback.
I get the future, but Sean McVay is the quarterback whisperer. Hell, he revived Baker Mayfield. I saw they wanted Joe Flacco, the Rams did, as a backup, and it didn't work. Jimmy Garoppolo, probably going to retire. So they kind of merged to Ty Simpson. For a team that good, it baffled me. And less need for GM that good as well, who really hits on his draft picks. I'm just scratching my head about this one.
I mean, there's also, the whole thing with Matthew Stafford, him being an older quarterback. I remember going into last year as a big thing. Is he going to play? Is he going to last with that back, Iowa, and things like that? So I don't know. Maybe this is just the Rams trying to get ahead of it, and just going out and getting a guy who, like, if Matthew Stafford were to get hurt in like week 4 or 5, knock on wood, because we would never want that to happen. But you would have a guy who you could plug in Ty Simpson, who, albeit a rookie, you would still have a level of confidence in him and a level of excitement to watch him play, since he was a first round pick, Alabama quarterback. And again, I think he's got a lot of good traits. I do. So we'll see what he ends up doing. Let's take a couple questions here from the live chat. This one's coming from Mugen Showdown. What's going on, man? Says, question, who is the dark horse draft pick, I guess, for the Ravens? Who's your dark horse draft pick for the Ravens, Alex?
Raven? I mean, I thought we were about to do NFL. My mind just started going everywhere. Ravens.
I guess we could do both. We'll start with Ravens, though.
That's a good one. Would it be a cop-out to say Randall? I mean...
No.
I feel like just what he can bring running back and receiver-wise, if Declan Doyle is who we think he is, just this guru, maybe he has a trick up his sleeve, I think he could be the guy. I think he'd be the guy that kind of shows out. It's like, man, how did they fall to the Ravens in the 6th round? And you hear the story on GMFB. Well, actually, it wasn't EDC who picked him. It was Steve Bisciotti. I think it could be him. I really do. I think he'd be our dark horse draft pick.
I think it could be Matthew Hibner, the tight end. I do. They got him with high enough draft capital, fourth round pick, albeit, but at the same time, he is directly replacing Isaiah Likely, right? He's directly replacing Likely in what Kolar were doing. And while Mark Andrews is still in the fold for the Ravens, he is 30 something years old, and he's not getting any younger. And we've seen that in the past couple of seasons. So I definitely think that they'll be trying to usher in a new era of the tight ends, right? And I think that by week 10, Hibner might just emerge as the official tight end one for this Ravens team. Again, with all of his characteristics, he's got good size, right? He's a great blocker, so he will stay on the field. He'll have opportunities because of that. And like I said, he's replacing a big hole that the Ravens had going into the draft. So I just think, again, with the pure volume that he's going to get over a guy like Adam Randall, I think, who, again, is way behind on the depth chart. He's still got Derrick Henry, Justice Hill. They're still going to give action to. But Matthew Hibner, he's going to be squarely in that mix to be starting. He's going to be a good rotational piece, like very, very soon into his career. So I'll go Matthew Hibner, especially just considering how well they develop tight ends in Baltimore.
Fuck it, Hibner week 1 anytime touchdown. I don't know why. I don't know why. I don't know why.
Just came to you.
I like you're saying that. I'm like, you know what? I can see Lamar hitting him up the seam. It's like nobody's really paying attention to him, and there's Hibner just wide open, and there's a Ravens touchdown. I'll bet it whenever the odds.
Why not? Right? Why not? I can't wait for the Purple Rain parlay segments to come back.
There it is. There's our new light bill guy. There he is.
There we go. But yeah, that's my dark horse pick of the entire draft. Though, what would be yours?
I liked Eli Rechtenstein from Navy, the running back receiver guy who went to the Steelers. I liked him. I liked his game. A little undersized, but he was just making plays. And I obviously have to take his competition into account. But he's an interesting guy. I liked him. I hate that he went to Pittsburgh. That's definitely one guy who comes off my mind. Landon Robinson, the Navy guy who went to the Bengals. I liked him, but he's like 5'11" as a D tackle. Not sure how that goes. I know I like Ted Hurst as well. I think that's a really good pick for the Buccaneers. You have Buka and Godwin, so Hurst can learn behind them. He won't be thrown into the fold. Who else?
Taylon Green. That was a steal too, I thought. Even though the Browns have like 70 quarterbacks now. But I like Taylon Green though.
Do the Browns have an offensive line?
They're still missing guard, right? I don't know all their picks, but I want to say they're missing a guard.
But Tonio and Teller were free agents, if I am.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Which that's very weird to me. I don't. They drafted 2, I think, receivers, right, with their first 2 picks. No, the tackle Fano and then the receiver. They got another receiver in the second round. Yeah, I'm not too sure.
They have 1 now. What was I gonna say? Oh, okay. So, Alex, let's go ahead and wrap this up. Let me ask you this before we get out of here. What is your final overall grade for the Ravens draft? And be sure, guys, like the video, subscribe if you are new. We'd appreciate that. And leave your comments down below if you're part of the replay gang, or even if you're watching live right now. Leave it down below in the comments. Please, please, please. Leave it down below in the comments if you're watching live right now. Not in the live chat, but in the comments section, what you give this Ravens grade for, or this Ravens draft a grade for. What do you think, Alex?
A B to a B+. The center is the only thing holding me back from that A. I really wanted the center. If EDC has a plan for center, after last year I have trust issues with him because I thought he had a plan for line, and I'm not gonna put it all on John because EDC was there. I'm gonna go to B to a B+. There's a lot of upside, but I think it was a good draft nonetheless. I do like a lot of our picks, and I think we'll get some productivity. I think out of half of them for sure.
Yeah, I would say C+, only because there were a lot of centers in this draft that I did like. Apparently, the Ravens really did like Jake Slaughter. They really liked Logan Jones as well. apparently. But of course, they missed out on those guys. I really wanted the Ravens to lock up guard and center in this draft, right? Get two guys there who can be your staple pieces for at least the next 5 years. At least the next 5 years. The fact that they did not address that lets me know that they must be planning on going a different route philosophically when it comes to addressing the center position. And I think that they don't want to get burned again by the center and the fifth year option thing and things like that, and the fifth year option for a center being lumped in with the prices for left tackles and things like that. So I think what they're going to do is you're probably going to see them go ahead and acquire a free agent and kind of get these mercenary pieces at center, right? These guys who maybe a little journeyman but have been around the league but can be solid, serviceable pieces at the center position. That's probably what we'll end up seeing, and that's why they did not address it at all in the draft. Like not once. I'm thinking, okay, yeah, first 5 rounds easily with all those picks in the 5th round, easily they got to get a center. They have to, but nope, they did not. They didn't even bother getting one towards the bottom part of the draft, right? They went and got another defensive tackle, and they drafted a punter, right? So I think that they'll definitely get a mercenary piece at center, and that's probably how we'll rock out. But overall, I'll have to give this draft a grade of about a C plus because of that. I'm gonna give it a C plus, and I gave it the plus because, like you mentioned, a lot of upside. I didn't like the 2 receiver picks based off of where we picked them. I like Sarratt over JaKobi Lane. I'll reiterate on that. But again, a lot of potential, a lot of promise. We just didn't answer everything. We didn't answer everything. We kind of left a couple answers, a couple questions on the test blank, right? We left a couple questions on the test blank, and that's what I kind of didn't like about this draft. Overall, C plus for me. Not bad, but not great either.
I wasn't expecting that. So you like both tight ends, Chandler Rivers.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Obviously, the first round pick. I guess, yeah, second, third, and fourth, you weren't the biggest fan of.
Yeah.
I was expecting
and that's the thing. Super high capital on second, third, and fourth round picks. I just think that I don't want to say these guys are misses, so to say. I know the thumbnail says hit or misses, but I just don't think that they were the best selection for where we drafted them. You know what I mean? Like, I almost would have preferred if we drafted Elijah Sarratt before we drafted JaKobi Lane. If you'd have just flip flopped those two, I'd have been a little bit more satisfied. But the fact that they kind of reached on Lane and then they ended up getting Sarratt, who fell to them, it's like, okay, you kind of got lucky there, cool, whatever. But at the same time, it's like, all right, are we going to go get that center of the future? Because without that center of the future, all these skill players that you just drafted, it's not going to work out too well for them. So overall, and again, like I said, I like the back half of the draft more so than the front half. Of course, the Vega pick, chef's kiss, 10 out of 10, A plus, love that. But rounds 2 through 4, it's still remaining to be seen, like whether or not those guys end up producing. I think that those guys can develop into good players, but I think that there were just slightly bigger needs that we needed to address, and we didn't. We didn't. We're still without a center, and for that reason, again, I'll give this draft a C plus. So, but yes, again, please leave it down below in the comment section what you grade this draft and why. Definitely want to know why. Love to chop it up with you guys in the comments. Again, thank you guys so much for coming out to this episode 401 of the Purple Rain podcast. Please be sure before you get out of here, like the video, leave a thumbs up on it. Let's try to get as close to 100 as we can before the live finishes, right? Let's try to do that. Please end up liking the video and subscribing to the channel as well if you are new and you enjoyed the content. We will be back with another main pod of PRP on Thursday with me and my guy Alex. But also, in between now and then, there will be other episodes coming out. I will be on the Ravens Roundup show tomorrow with Coach Evans and all the boys over there. Probably simulcast stream here on the Purple Rain podcast so you don't miss it for all my PRP fans out there. And then also on Wednesday, we're going to do Quiet Storm Sports. Me, myself, will probably be joined by a couple of guests on Wednesday's episode. So please be sure subscribe so you can follow along with all the latest and greatest updates here at the Purple Rain podcast. But with that being said, again, we thank you guys for coming through, and I'm going to let my guy Alex take us out.
Thank you for coming to episode 401 of the Purple Rain podcast. We love you. We appreciate you. And as always, stay positive and test negative.
Yes. And never, ever, ever forget, even on the rainiest of days, to call God. It's been episode 401 of PRP. We're going to catch you guys in the next video. Peace.